Spring in Cincinnati means one thing to a lot of us: allergies. But have you ever noticed how different days can lead to different allergy symptoms? One day you'll wake up sneezing and the next day you're totally fine. Understanding what weather has to do with allergies can help you plan your day. Let's start with the basics. Pollen is microscopic. It's a fine powder released by trees, grasses, and weeds as a part of their reproduction process. And right now in Cincinnati, we're in peak tree pollen season, especially oak, maple, and hickory. A secondary high pollen peak occurs in early June with grass pollen, while ragweed causes high counts in September. But here's something Cincinnati residents deal with that a lot of other cities don't. It all comes down to geography. Dr. Esther Cheng, an ear, nose, and throat doctor at Christ Hospital, explains.
Basically, pollen just gets trapped here, and there's not a lot of places for it to go. So, not a lot of dispersion of the pollen, so it just sticks around and people just get a lot of symptoms. So we have plenty of patients who might have lived somewhere else, like West Coast, and then they move here and all of a sudden they have allergies. It's just because of the geography and how everything kind of funnels in here.
Cincinnati is in a valley, which means we get hit harder with our pollen than most other places. But understanding the weather patterns behind pollen can help you manage it better. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. Plants don't release pollen randomly. Temperature, wind, and humidity all control how much pollen gets into the air and how far it spreads. Take a cooler day. Temperatures in the 50s with light winds around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Plants are less active in cooler weather, so they release less pollen. With a lighter wind, whatever pollen is in the air doesn't travel far. It settles quickly. That means lower pollen levels overall. If you have allergies, this is your window, literally. Open the windows, get outside, or take a walk. Humidity also plays a role. Higher humidity makes pollen heavier, so it falls out of the air more quickly. But dry air? That lets pollen float and travel even farther. Now, a lot of people think rain solves the allergy problem completely. Here's what actually happens.
People often say, with the rain, everything goes away. To some degree, that's true. Yes, it does go away temporarily, but sometimes it just means that it's going to come back a little bit in a delayed fashion. So sometimes it's 2 or 3 days later, we start to notice more things.
So rain gives you temporary relief, but understanding when pollen is worse during the day can help you plan even better. Here's what Dr. Cheng says about that.
Usually afternoon does tend to be when people's symptoms are worse, just because it's that time of day where more pollen accumulates. So morning is probably okay, but afternoon probably want to shut the windows.
So timing matters, both time of year and the time of day. That's another tool you can use to your advantage. Now compare that to a warm, windy day. Temperatures in the 70s or 80s with winds 15 to 20 miles per hour or higher. Warm weather ramps up pollen production. Plants start releasing more of it. In strong winds, they spread it everywhere. Pollen can travel miles in these conditions, filling the air and driving up allergy symptoms, sneezing, itchy eyes, congestion. On days like this, it's better to keep those windows closed, wear sunglasses outside, and consider staying indoors when you can.
We usually recommend, if somebody knows they have bad allergies, to be on some sort of a daily medication. First line would be over-the-counter oral antihistamines, which would be like Zyrtec, Claritin, Allegra, Xyzal is another one. So just being on something like that as far as prevention. And then one thing that can be super helpful is actually using a nasal saline spray. So people oftentimes don't like to put stuff in their nose, but when they are willing to do so, they actually can be very helpful. So it can range anywhere from a simple spray to even something a little bit more like a neti pot or something like that. But even just a little spray in the nose helps to flush out any allergens or irritants in the nose. And so if they know it's going to be a warm, windy day, it's helpful to do something like that preventatively, just to kind of keep the nose clean and keep the allergens, out of there as best they can.
If you're struggling with symptoms, talk to your doctor about relief options that work for you. There are plenty of treatments available that can help you feel better during high pollen days. So it's not just the temperature, it's humidity and wind as well. So the bottom line is cooler, calmer days are better for your allergies. In warmer, windier days, that's when pollen spikes. So before you head out the door, make sure you're not just checking the temperature, you're checking the humidity and wind as well. Reporting in Cincinnati, I'm meteorologist Anna DuVall.